not unlike the masks that you have right here in the museum itself, similar to masks that we have here. We're going to move on to some of the later, more recent performances. As we know, performance art can happen. In the early 60s, Marshall McLuhan came and talked and spoke at the University of British Columbia. With Marshall McLuhan, they had the first performance festivals that were started by B.C. Binning, the founder of the arts program at the University of British Columbia. Prior to that, we had art programs at the Vancouver School of Art. We had, in 1963, the first Performance Art Festival in Vancouver, where John Cage and Bruce Cunningham came along with Marshall McLuhan. And there we see John Cage having a good time. And we all know John Cage, yes? Thank you for that. Making sure we're allowed. During this time, there were a number of graduates from the program, master's program at the University of British Columbia. The first one in that area started with General Idea. And in 1965, there was the founding of the first video cameras were coming into Vancouver, and they were founded at a place called the Western Front, the oldest artist center and the most prestigious one in Vancouver. A number of artists, namely a group called General Idea, came out of Vancouver and Toronto. Keeping in mind that the Vancouver school is very connected to the West Coast aesthetic in that it used a lot of the ideas of glamour, pageantry, and media. As we'll see in a little while, they also were connected with Hollywood, right? A number of artists went to LA at the same time, in the late 60s, early 70s. And this is a part of a series called Offhand, or another series called Hand of the Spirit. The Western Front also started a group called the Eternal Network. Has anybody heard that?
Yeah.
It started as a fulcrum at the Western Front, where male art would go in and out of the Western Front and all of the world, creating an eternal network.
The network, yeah.
Between people. And that was started at the Western Front. You can see the happy performance art crew, they're all doing the gesture with their heads. You see their hands? You're going to see that in a little while. Another fun and informative thing that happened at the same time is Mr. Peanut. This is Mike Morris and Vince Trasov. Started a campaign in the early 70s, 1971, with a number of artists that we're going to see in a little while, some other imagery from the Eternal Network. There's Michael Morris, one of the founders of the Western Front. The founders of the Western Front were Michael Morris, Hank Bull. Some of you might know Hank Bull. Hank Bull, Bueller. Hank Bull and Eric Metcalf. The big fulcrum of performance were from those three founders of the Western Front. Here we go with the hand again. And here we go with the Miss General Idea pageant. This is Miss Montreal. So General Idea was a group of 3 artists who started this magazine, or we see File magazine, out of Vancouver. Later in Toronto, they founded what we know as my name. In Vancouver, A Space Gallery, a number of other ones, in early artist run centers in Vancouver. There was a lot of money in Canada at the time with the Trudeau government to get the idea of culture, non-saleable culture that wasn't predicated on selling your work, but experimenting and researching. So a lot of money was put into culture through what is now known as the Canada Council for the Arts, which a number of other, which was founded on the basis of the British Arts Council. And a number of artist-run centers, the funding went to them to spawn new and creative ideas of culture. So over 100 artist-run centers were spawned through this new influx of cash, and with that came performance art. The Western Front got a huge chunk of money, and these artists purchased this building, which is now the Western Front. And out of that came these ideas of puns on the pageant system, the media, like Miss America pageant. Anybody know about the Miss World pageant? Thank you for that. See on the back here. Thank you. So as a pun, this is Anna Vitry or Anna Banana, later known as Miss General Idea. She was Miss Montreal. These are part of the hand of the series. They also purchased an area where, over on the Sunshine Coast, where there would be a lot of nakedness and frolicking nude in a utopian environment, frolicking around, dealing with color bars and things like that. Here's a program for the Miss General Idea pageant. All of this material that we're seeing here now, and a hell of a lot more, can be found at the Belkin Gallery at the University of British Columbia in the archive of the archive at what is here? It is what's this archive? It's called. Yes, it's the archive at the Hand of the Spirit archive at the Belkin Gallery. So if you were researching Ronnie Hunter, for instance, went there and researched a number of different things. And this is early work, 1971, with general idea, evidence of the body binding, which is in the National Gallery of Canada. And here is one of the only male participants of the Miss General Idea pageant, Mr. Michael Morris, running for Miss General Idea. Now, as I said before, some of this idea of taking popular imagery and popular media has always been at the mainstay of art, early art in Western Canada, using theater, theatrical elements, props, using personas, often going in persona. A number of the early artists in Vancouver had personas. There's Trolley Buzz, there's Mr. Peanut, there's Dr. Brood, there's Mrs. Brood. All of these personas where they make a fictive pun on contemporary media. And one of the characters that was introduced out of popular media was Mr. Peanut. Everybody know Mr. Peanut's on the peanut bags? Mr. Peanut. Well, Mr. Peanut, you can see right here, here's manipulating himself. Mr. Peanut actually ran for mayor of Vancouver. Mr. Peanut garnered over 14% of the popular vote for mayor in Vancouver. And that's a huge amount of people to vote for Mr. Peanut. Mr. Peanut at meetings and debates, he would never speak, he only had a violin. He brought with him an entourage of people, Dr. Brood, Mrs. Brood, and the Peanuts. His platform was, Mr. Peanut was standing for performance, elegance, art, nonsense, uniqueness, and talent. Peanut. And he used to have the whole room saying performance, elegance, art, nonsense, uniqueness, talent, humming along at large meetings in City Hall in the costume of Mr. Peanut. There was some others, Mr. Peanut again. Mr. Peanut was Vincent Trassoff, artist who lived in Berlin for a number of years. Here we can see an example. Here is, right here you can see Hank Bull, Eric Metcalf, and often in Eric Metcalf's work you'll see the tiger stripes on all of his saxophone playing. So often taking these ideas of popular media, persona, fictive environments into a new realm. Then here is in front, awful characters. This is Anna Banana. Anybody heard of Anna Banana? Anna Banana, Mr. Peanut, Hank Bull, in front of City Hall. And some other characters who are happening, Gary Nova as Art Rat, the Candy Man, and Mr. Peanut. Unfortunately, Candyman was taken to court, and there was no more Candyman because the Candyman company sued. And no more Art Rat is Gary Nova, a significant digital artist in Vancouver now and teacher. He was one of my instructors at Emily Carr. There's Mr. Peanut running for mayor. So early performance was taking this idea of, I mean, you could draw an analogy between First Nations mask covering, changing into a character, mythical character, and the mythical character that we have in Western culture is often a mythical character of production, of media. Mr. Peanut would be a good example. Here we go with the Peanuts. And a number of these artists, like here we can see Kate Craig here. This is Kate Craig right here. Significant video artist at the time. Because as I said, the Western Front is one of the few interdisciplinary institutions that had video, performance, visual art, and sound art as part of their whole curriculum. So you can go to the Western Front and do residencies as a media artist, as a video artist, as a performance artist, as a visual artist. And they have a residency program there at the Western Front. So video was a really budding area, and the Western Front was a big advocate of video art at the time. And here we go with Eric Metcalf, Governor General's Award winner, as Dr. Brute, playing the leopard striped saxophone, and Mr. Peanut next to him. Once again garnering, which is quite remarkable. Other artists at the time that were influencing Western performance art were artists from Los Angeles, namely Suzanne Lacey and Faith Wielding, and other artists. We'll see Suzanne Lacey, Judy Chicago, Abulations, and this happened in Venice, California. So you can see the influence. This is 1972, early performance in Western Canada. Here you can see the effects of Man and Spirit. This is the Eternal Network. Can you run any one of these lines, James? Oh, that's so much better. Here you can see the effect of all of the archive that they had was sent all over the world and exhibited. That's Vincent Trasov, aka Mr. Peanut on the left, and Michael Morris on the right. There's Michael Morris and Vincent Trasov again in persona as da. And here we go with Anna Banana and Big Gaglione doing spoken word. Another mainstay was the spoken word culture, theater and video together. So this idea of this intermediate, do you know the term intermediate? The term intermediate was coined at the Western Front. A number of Fluxus artists did residencies early on at the Western Front, very significant in the international spectrum of performance art and visual art. And once again, intermediate was coined at the Western Front. Here we go with the news conference from General Idea. And a number of other artists were participating at the time. And early, this is called Mirror, Fire, Water. And this is an early video, the first video shot, this is still shot in Vancouver on the beach on Spanish Banks, where they put a mirror down the beach. And in the old days, video cameras, as you know, were like as big as this here. It's a portable video camera.
Yeah.
And so it was quite a thing for artists to take this immediate technology and use that in the moment on the beach. So it was funny, you know, and this is Eric McKay. And here it is, another contributor was an artist, Evelyn Roth. Right here, she lives in Blaine, Washington, using, once again, common everyday materials from the West Coast, seaweed, things like this, woven materials, First Nations objects together to create costumes, things to wear. Here we go with Evelyn Roth again in front of the old Vancouver Art Gallery. She looks pretty happy there. It's good to see. Faith Wielding, another big contributor. Faith Wielding later went to New York, was quite successful. Moved on here, another artist that we're going to see that was contributing to early performance in Western Canada was Laurie Anderson, using media and popular imagery together. So all of these intermixed, woven together, along with significant funding from the government, allowed for a hotbed of activity and experimentation. So a hotbed of experimentation and activity was happening in Vancouver, along with this idea of connecting with this internal network out into the world. A lot of the artists, Cavallini, you know Cavallini from Italy, Cavallini, male artists, were in direct connection with Vincent Trasov, and these long tentacles were reaching out into the world and bringing them down to the small area on the west coast of North America. So it was very important. There's Laurie Anderson doing work at the Western Front, and here she is again, Laurie Anderson, young Laurie Anderson in Vancouver. And the Spirit, here's one of the magazines that they put out for about 5 years. It was a sort of a humorous take of contemporary art, and of course we had Interview magazine and Life magazine. General idea put this out for about 10 years. This is called File magazine, which showcased a lot of artists. Namely, here we can see on the cover Tom Dean, Andy Warhol talks about money, William Burroughs, all of the people. It was the main area of dissemination across the world for predominantly Canadian art and Canadian artists.